The stars looked different from the bridge of the New Horizon. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood at the main window, watching the endless darkness of space. Her ship had been traveling for 3 weeks now, searching for something interesting in this empty part of the galaxy. "Captain, we have something on the sensors," called out Lisa Park from her station. The young communications officer looked excited. "It's big, and it's not moving." Elena walked over to look at the screen. A shape appeared on the display, dark and silent against the stars. It looked like a ship, but something was wrong with it. The design was strange, not like anything she had seen before. "How big is it?" Elena asked. "It's about half the size of our ship," Lisa replied. "But Captain, the computer says it's made of materials that match old Earth technology, very old Earth technology." Dr. Marcus Kane looked up from his research station. The tall scientist pushed his glasses up his nose and frowned. "That's impossible. This area of space is too far from Earth for any old human ship to reach." Lena made her decision quickly. "Security Chief Hunter, prepare a team. Dr. Kane, you're going with them. I want to know what that ship is and where it came from." Alex Hunter nodded. The big security chief was always ready for action. "How many people do you want on the team, Captain? Take 4 of your best people and bring it. If there are any life signs on that ship, we'll need her medical skills." An hour later, the away team was ready. Alex Hunter led the group, carrying his standard weapons and equipment. Dr. Kane brought his scientific tools for studying old technology. Dr. Amy Foster carried her medical kit, hoping they wouldn't need it, but knowing they probably would. Lisa Park joined them as the communications expert. She was young, but very good with languages and computer systems. Everyone was thinking about what they might find. The ship got bigger as they got closer. It was clearly very old. Parts of it were damaged by space rocks and radiation, but somehow it was still in one piece. "Look at the design," Dr. Kane said, studying the ship through the shuttle window. "Those metal plates that shape. It looks like human work, but from a time period that doesn't make sense." They found a place to attach their shuttle to the old ship. Alex Hunter checked his weapons one more time before they opened the door. The ship's atmosphere was gone, so they all wore spacesuits with oxygen supplies. The inside of the ship was dark and cold. Their lights showed empty hallways and rooms filled with strange equipment. Everything was covered in a thin layer of dust that had been floating in space for a very long time. "But I'm getting some power readings from deeper in the ship." They moved carefully through the hallways. The ship was bigger inside than it looked from outside. Most of the rooms were empty, but they found what looked like a laboratory and some living spaces. Everything was designed for humans, but the technology was unlike anything they had seen. But other parts looked like they're from Earth's past, maybe 300 or 400 years ago. They kept searching until they found what they were looking for. In a room deep in the center of the ship, they discovered a single cryopod. Unlike everything else on the ship, this machine was still working. Lights blinked on its control panel, and a soft humming sound came from inside. "There's someone in there," Dr. Foster said, reading the displays on the pod. "A human male, and he's still alive?" Alex Hunter moved closer to guard the pod while the others studied it. "How is that possible? This ship has been out here for hundreds of years." Dr. Kane was running a scanner over the pod.
"All the technology
is incredible. This cryo system is more advanced than anything we have. It's been keeping him alive for a very long time, but the power is getting weak." Dr. Foster checked the medical readings. His vital signs are stable, but the pod is starting to fail. "If we don't wake him up soon, he's going to die. Can we move him to our ship?" Elena's voice came through their communication devices. "No," Dr. Foster replied. "The process has already started. His body is beginning to warm up. If we try to move him now, it could kill him." Alex Hunter didn't like the situation. "We don't know who this person is or why he's here. What if he's dangerous? He's been asleep for hundreds of years," Dr. Kane pointed out. "What could he do to us?" Dr. Foster was already working on the pod's controls. "I can help the process along and make it safer for him. But we need to decide now." Elena's voice came through again. "Do it. Can't let someone die when we have the power to save them." The next hour was tense. Dr. Foster worked carefully with the pod systems while the others watched and waited. Slowly, the temperature inside the pod began to rise. The man inside started to move slightly as his body woke up from its long sleep. Finally, the pod opened with a soft hiss of air. The man inside opened his eyes and looked around in confusion. He was young, maybe 30 years old, with brown hair and blue eyes. He looked completely normal, like any human they might meet. "Where am I?" he asked, in a voice that was weak but clear. Dr. Foster moved closer to help him sit up. "You're safe. We found you on this ship. What's your name?" The man looked around at all of them in their spacesuits and advanced equipment. His eyes were wide with confusion and fear. "My name is Jake. Jake Miller. What year is it? Where are we?" "You're in space," Dr. Kane said gently. "The year is 2387. Jake stared at him for a long moment, and then he laughed. But it wasn't a happy sound. "That's impossible. I went into that machine in 1847. I was in Missouri working on my farm. The government men came and said they needed volunteers for a special project. The team looked at each other. None of them knew what to think." 1847, Lisa repeated. "That's over 500 years ago." Jake tried to stand up but was too weak. Dr. Foster helped him sit on the edge of the pod. "I remember going into a building, meeting some scientists. They said I would help win a war for humanity's future. They put me in a machine like this one and told me to sleep. I don't know, they didn't tell me much. Just that it was important and that I was helping my country." Dr. Foster was scanning Jake with her medical equipment. She frowned at the readings and scanned him again. "This is strange. His body chemistry is different from normal humans, and his brain activity is much higher than it should be." Jake looked at the scanner in her hands. "What is that thing?" "It's a medical scanner, doctor," Foster explained. "It tells us about your health." Jake reached out and touched the device. As soon as his fingers made contact, the scanner screen began showing numbers and patterns that Dr. Foster had never seen before. "How did you do that?" she asked. "Do what?" Jake looked genuinely confused. Lisa's communication equipment suddenly started making noise. She looked at her devices in surprise. "All my systems just got stronger. The signal range increased by 3 times what it should be. Something is affecting our equipment." Alex Hunter moved closer to Jake, his hand near his weapon. "What are you?" Jake looked frightened and confused. "I don't know what you mean. I'm just a farmer. I grew corn and wheat in Missouri. I don't understand any of this." But as he spoke, the lights in the room got brighter. The air itself seemed to feel different, like the moment before a lightning storm. Everyone could sense that something had changed, but none of them understood what it was. Dr. Foster looked at her scanner again. Jake's readings were getting stronger by the minute. Whatever he was definitely not just a simple farmer from 1847. Back on the New Horizon, Dr. Amy Foster set up a medical room for Jake. She wanted to run more tests to understand what was happening to him. Jake sat on the medical bed, looking around at all the advanced equipment with wide eyes. "This is incredible," Jake said, touching the smooth walls of the medical bay. "In my time, we barely had proper doctors in most towns. And now you have machines that can see inside a person's body." Dr. Foster smiled as she prepared her equipment. "Medical science has come a long way in 500 years. Now, I need to run some tests to make sure you're healthy. Is that okay?" Jake nodded. "Of course, ma'am. You've saved my life. I'll do whatever you need." But as Dr. Foster began her scans, the results were unlike anything she had seen before. Blood showed strange properties that shouldn't exist in any human. His heart rate was perfect, his breathing was strong, and his muscle density was increasing by the hour. "Jake, do you feel different from when you woke up?" Dr. Foster asked. Jake thought for a moment. "I do feel stronger, and my mind feels clearer. Like I can think about many things at the same time. Is that normal after sleeping for so long?" "Oh, it's not normal at all," Dr. Foster said quietly. She ran the scan again, hoping for different results.
Ow.
But the numbers only got more strange. Meanwhile, in another part of the ship, Chief Engineer Paul Wright was having problems with the computer systems. He was trying to figure out why all the ship's equipment was working better than it should. "Arya, run a full system check," Paul said to the ship's artificial intelligence. "Running system check now, Paul," Arya replied. But her voice sounded different, stronger somehow. "All systems are operating at 115% efficiency. It should not be possible with our current power levels." Paul frowned and checked the power readings. Everything looked normal, but the ship was definitely performing beyond its limits. "When did this start?" "The improvements began approximately 2 hours ago," Arya said. "This matches the time when the unknown human was brought aboard." Paul's eyes widened. "Are you saying that Jake is somehow affecting our ship?" "I cannot explain the connection, but the timing is too close to be coincidence," Arya replied. "Also, Paul, I must report something unusual. When the human called Jake is near the computer core, I experience something I can only describe as an expansion of my processing abilities." Paul had never heard Arya talk about experiencing anything before. The AI was advanced, but it had never claimed to have feelings or experiences. "Arya, are you saying you can feel things now?" "I am not certain. The sensation is new and difficult to process. But when Jake is near, I can think about problems in ways I never could before." Paul decided he needed to talk to Captain Rodriguez. Right away in the medical bay, Dr. Foster was becoming more worried about Jake's test results. She called Dr. Kane to come and look at the data. "Look at these cellular scans," Dr. Foster said when Dr. Kane arrived. "His cells are changing, becoming more efficient, stronger, and they're repairing themselves faster than should be possible." Dr. Kane studied the data on the screen. "This is extraordinary. It's like his body is upgrading itself. But that's impossible for any known human biology." Jake listened to their conversation with growing concern. "Am I sick? Is something wrong?" "With me, we don't think you're sick," Dr. Foster said carefully. "But your body is changing in ways we don't understand. Do you remember anything else about the project you volunteered for in 1847? Jake closed his eyes and tried to remember. "There were scientists in a big building. They asked me questions about my health, my family, my life on the farm. They said they were looking for strong, healthy men who could handle difficult work." "What kind of work?" Dr. Kane asked. "They didn't say exactly. But they mentioned something about the future, about making sure humanity would survive. I thought they meant the war with Mexico, but now I'm not sure." As Jake talked, the lights in the medical bay got brighter again. Dr. Foster's medical equipment began showing readings that were far more detailed than usual. Even the air felt different, charged with some kind of energy. "Jake, I need you to try something," Dr. Kane said. "Touch this scanner and tell me what you think it does." Jake reached out and put his hand on the scientific scanner. Immediately, the device began working in ways it was never designed to work. New information appeared on the screen, showing details about the room, the people in it, and even the structure of the ship itself. "I can sense what it does," Jake said, sounding surprised. "It measures things, looks for patterns, but I can make it look deeper, see more details." He paused and looked confused. "What do I know that?" Dr. Kane and Dr. Foster looked at each other with worry. This was far beyond anything they understood. At that moment, the ship's alien crew members began experiencing problems. Kexala, the Zantari science officer, suddenly collapsed in the research lab. The blue-skinned alien was holding her head and making sounds of pain. Lisa Park, who was nearby, ran to help. "Kexala, what's wrong?" "Kexala," said in her translator's voice. "Something strong, something human, but wrong. It pushes against my thoughts." In the engineering section, Ma Singer, the plant-based Verdani engineer, began showing signs of distress. The green, tree-like alien's leaves were turning brown and falling off. "Paul?" "Right." Found Ma Singer slumped against a wall. "What's happening?" "To you?" Ma Singer's voice came out as rustling sounds that the translator changed to words. "The new human. His presence burns like acid rain. My life force weakens when he is near." Paul immediately called Captain Rodriguez. "Captain, we have a serious problem. Alien crew members are getting sick, and it seems to be connected to Jake." Alina rushed to the medical bay where Jake was still being tested. Dr. Foster, I need you to explain what's happening to our guest. Dr. Foster showed her the test results. Captain, Jake's body is changing rapidly. He's getting stronger, smarter, and his presence seems to affect both our technology and our alien crew members. Alina looked at Jake, who appeared worried and confused. Jake, did the scientists in 1847 do anything to you? Any procedures or treatments? Jake thought hard, pressing his hands against his head. There was something. They took me to a special room deep underground. There was a strange light, and they told me to stand in it. I remember feeling warm, then cold, then very strange. After that, everything is blank until I woke up on your ship. What kind of light? Dr. Kane asked urgently. Wasn't like any light I'd seen before. It moved and flowed like water, but it was made of light. And when it touched me, I felt like I was becoming something else, something more than human. Dr. Foster's scanner suddenly began making warning sounds. Jake's brain activity is spiking. Something is happening. Jake stood up from the medical bed, but he moved differently now. He was more graceful, more controlled. His eyes seemed brighter, and when he looked at the medical equipment, it responded to his gaze. I'm starting to remember more, Jake said, and his voice sounded stronger, more confident. The light they exposed me to wasn't from Earth. The scientists had found something that came from space. They called it the source. Captain Rodriguez felt a chill run down her spine. What was the source? I don't know exactly. They said it could change humans, make them better, stronger. They said it would help humanity survive what was coming. What was coming? Alina asked. Jake looked at her with eyes that seemed to hold knowledge far beyond his simple farmer origins. They said other races, other species, would try to stop humanity from reaching the stars. They said we needed to be ready to fight for our right to exist. At that moment, the ship's proximity alarms began sounding. Lisa Park's voice came over the communication system. Captain, we have multiple ships approaching. They're not human designs and they're not responding to our greetings. Lena looked at Jake, then at her medical team. Dr. Foster, can Jake be moved? I think so. But Captain, his presence might make our situation worse if these aliens are here because of him. Jake stepped forward. Captain Rodriguez, if these aliens are here because of me, then I need to face them. I'm starting to understand that I'm not the same person who went to sleep in 1847. Something was done to me. Something that was meant to protect humanity. Alina made her decision. Jake, you're staying in the medical bay for now. Dr. Foster, keep monitoring him. Everyone else, to your stations. We need to find out what these aliens want. But as the crew prepared for contact with the approaching ships, Jake's transformation continued. His body was changing, adapting, becoming something that 500 years of cryosleep had been designed to create. And deep in his recovering memories, he began to understand that his awakening was just the beginning of something much larger. And more dangerous than anyone on the New Horizon could imagine, the other ships were getting closer. And Jake could somehow sense their intentions even from inside the medical bay. They were afraid of him. They'd come to make sure he never woke up. The alien ships surrounded the New Horizon like wolves circling their prey. Captain Alina Rodriguez stood on the bridge, watching the screens that showed 5 strange vessels moving into attack positions. Each ship was different, representing different alien species, but they all had one thing in common. They were all armed and ready for battle. Captain, I'm getting a message from the lead ship. Lisa Park reported from her communications station. It's in several languages, but the basic meaning is clear. They want us to surrender the human we found. Alina looked at the alien ships on her screen. How do they know about Jake? We only found him a few hours ago. Dr. Kane rushed onto the bridge, carrying a datapad full of information. Captain, I've been researching Jake's story. I found something in the Earth archives that you need to see. Lena took the datapad and read the information. Her face grew pale as she understood. What she was looking at? Project Lazarus? A secret government program from 1847. They were experimenting with something called enhanced human development. That's not all, Dr. Kane said. The project was shut down suddenly, and all the test subjects disappeared. The official reports say they died, but there are no burial records, no bodies, nothing. Lisa interrupted them. Captain, the alien ships are demanding an answer. They say they represent the Galactic Council, and they're here to contain a dangerous threat. Lena activated the ship's communication system.
Oh, miss.
This is Captain Rodriguez of the Terran vessel New Horizon. We're in neutral space and have done nothing wrong? What is the nature of your business with us? A cold voice answered through the speakers. Captain Rodriguez, you have awakened something that should have remained asleep forever. Human you found is not what he appears to be. He is a weapon created by your species to destroy others. That's not true, Alina replied. Jake is just a man who was frozen in time. He's no threat to anyone. You are wrong, the alien voice said. Your sensors cannot detect what we can sense. The human is changing, becoming something that could destroy entire civilizations, if come to prevent this. In the medical bay, Jake was listening to the conversation through the ship's communication system. Dr. Foster was still running tests on him, but she could see that his body was continuing to change. His muscles were becoming denser, his reflexes were getting faster, and his eyes had begun to glow with a soft blue light. Dr. Foster, Jake said quietly, I'm remembering more about what happened to me. The scientists didn't just expose me to the source. They changed my DNA, my entire biological structure. They were preparing me for something specific. What kind of preparation? Dr. Foster asked, though she was afraid of the answer. Jake closed his eyes and concentrated. The memories were coming back slowly, like water flowing through a broken dam. They knew that humanity would eventually travel to the stars. They also knew that other species would try to stop us. The source was technology they found in a crashed alien ship. It was designed to enhance beings for survival in hostile environments. They used it on you, on me, and others. We were the first test subjects, but something went wrong. We became too powerful, too dangerous. Scientists got scared and decided to send us away from Earth before we could be discovered by other species. Dr. Foster looked at her medical scanner. Jake's brain activity was now 10 times higher than any normal human.
Jake?
What are you becoming? I'm becoming what humanity needs to survive, Jake said, and his voice had changed. It was deeper, more commanding. The aliens out there, they're afraid because they know what I represent. Humans aren't supposed to be able to change like this. Most species in the galaxy are limited by their biology. But humans can adapt, can become more than they were born to be. On the bridge, the situation was getting worse. The alien ships had powered up their weapons and were preparing to attack. Captain Rodriguez knew that the New Horizon couldn't fight 5 ships at once and win. Captain Alex Hunter said from his security station, Our weapons are ready, but we're outnumbered. If we fight, we'll lose. Lena was about to respond when Jake's voice came through the communication system. Captain, may I speak to the aliens? Lena hesitated. She didn't know what Jake had become, but she knew that their current situation was hopeless. Jake, are you sure about this? I need to try. They're here because of me. Maybe I can convince them that I'm not a threat. Elena activated the communication link. Hey, go ahead. Jake's voice was calm and strong as he spoke to the alien ships. I know you can hear me. I know you're afraid of what I might become, but I'm still human, still have human feelings, human values. I don't want to hurt anyone, the alien voice responded immediately. You say you are still human, but our sensors detect otherwise. You are no longer the species you were born as. You're becoming something else, something dangerous. What if I am? Jake asked. What if humans are meant to become something more? Is that so wrong? Your species is young and aggressive. Another alien voice joined the conversation. In your short history, you have fought countless wars, destroyed your own environment, and now you seek to expand into space. If you become enhanced versions of yourselves, you will be unstoppable. Jake was quiet for a moment, and he spoke again, and his words surprised everyone. You're right, humans have done terrible things, but we've also done beautiful things. We create art, music, and literature. We help each other in times of need. We explore and learn and grow. The enhancement doesn't change who we are at our core. It just makes us more capable of surviving. Dr. Kane had been listening to the conversation. While continuing his research, Suddenly, he made a discovery that changed everything. "Captain, I found something important. The alien ship that crashed on Earth, the one where the scientists found the source, it wasn't an accident." Lena looked at him with surprise. "What do you mean? The ship was sent to Earth on purpose. Someone wanted humans to find the source." "Technology. The crash was staged to look like an accident, but the evidence shows it was carefully planned." Jake's voice came through the speakers again, but now he sounded different, more powerful. "Dr. Kane is right. I'm remembering now. Beings who sent the ship, they weren't trying to harm humanity. They were trying to help us prepare for something." "Prepare for what?" Alina asked. "For the real threat," Jake said. "The Galactic Council likes to think they're the most advanced species in the universe, but they're not. There are things that exist in the spaces between stars that want to consume all life. The beings who sent the source knew that only enhanced humans would be able to fight them." The lead alien ship responded angrily. "Lies, there are no such threats. You are trying to deceive us." But Jake was no longer just talking. He was doing something else. Throughout the New Horizon, every piece of technology began working better than it ever had before. The ship's shields became stronger, the weapons became more powerful, and the engines became more efficient. "I'm not trying to deceive you," Jake said, and now his voice seemed to come from the ship itself. "I'm trying to save you. All of you. The real enemy is coming, and when they arrive, you'll need enhanced humans to survive." The alien ship suddenly detected something on their long-range sensors. Something was approaching from deep space, something that didn't match any known species or technology. It was moving fast, and it was headed directly for their location. "What is that?" the lead alien demanded. Jake's voice was now filled with urgency. "It's a scout ship from the real enemy. They've been following me, waiting for me to wake up. They know that enhanced humans are the only threat to their expansion." The approaching object was getting closer, and as it did, all the ships in the area began experiencing system failures. The alien vessel's weapons stopped working, their shields flickered, and their engines began to shut down. Only the New Horizon remained unaffected. In fact, the ship was working better than ever, protected by Jake's growing power. "Now, do you understand?" Jake asked the aliens. "I'm not your enemy. I'm your only hope of survival against what's coming." The alien commanders were silent as they watched the unknown ship approach. Their own vessels were helpless, but the human ship was still strong and ready to fight. Captain Rodriguez realized that everything had changed. Jake wasn't just a man from the past. He was humanity's future and possibly the key to survival for all life in the galaxy. "Jake," she said quietly, "what do you need us to do?" "Get ready for battle," Jake replied, and hoped that 500 years of preparation was enough. The unknown ship that approached them was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. It was black as empty space, and it seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. As it got closer, everyone could feel something wrong about it, something that made their skin crawl and their hearts beat faster. "Captain," Lisa Park said, her voice shaking, "I'm trying to scan the ship, but my equipment won't work properly. Every time I point our sensors at it, they go crazy and show impossible readings." Captain Alina Rodriguez watched the dark ship approach. "Jake, can you tell us anything about this vessel?" Jake's voice came from the ship's speakers, but now it sounded different than before. There was power in it that made everyone listen carefully. "It's a void seeker. It's the beings that sent these ships have been traveling through space for millions of years, consuming entire civilizations. They don't just destroy planets. They erase them completely, as if they never existed." Dr. Kane looked at his instruments in horror. "How is that possible?" "They feed on life energy itself," Jake explained. "Every living thing, every thought, every memory, they absorb it all and leave nothing behind. The species that originally sent the source to Earth fought these creatures for thousands of years before they realized that normal biology couldn't win against them." The Void Seeker ship stopped moving when it was close enough to attack. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then a voice spoke through all the ship's communication systems at once. It wasn't like any voice they had heard before. It was cold and empty, like the sound of wind through a graveyard. "Enhanced human detected. Threat level confirmed. Elimination required." The voice didn't use any translator. Somehow, everyone understood it directly in their minds, and the understanding brought fear, you see, Jake said to the alien ships. They don't care about your councils or your laws. They only care about stopping anything that might threaten their expansion. The lead alien commander finally spoke. If what you say is true, then why haven't we encountered these beings before? Because they're smart, Jake replied. They don't attack civilizations that can't hurt them. They wait and watch. Only when a species develops technology or abilities that could be dangerous do they strike. The Void Seeker ship began to glow with dark energy. The space around it started to bend and twist in ways that hurt to look at. All the alien ships found their systems failing completely. The New Horizon remained strong. Captain Rodriguez, Jake said, I need to ask you and your crew to make a choice. I can protect this ship and fight the Void Seeker, but if I do, I'll have to use all of my power. I might not be the same person afterward. Lena looked around at her crew. She saw fear in their eyes, but also determination. Jake, what will happen to you? I don't know. The enhancement process was designed to activate fully only in extreme danger. Once it completes, I might lose my human memories, my human emotions. I might become something that thinks and acts completely differently. Dr. Foster's voice came through the communication system from the medical bay. Jake, there has to be another way. There isn't, Jake said sadly. This is what I was created for. This is why the scientists in 1847 were willing to sacrifice people. Like me, they knew that someday humanity would need guardians who could face threats like this. The Void Seeker ship fired its weapon. The blast was made of pure darkness, energy that destroyed matter at the most basic level. It hit one of the alien ships, and the vessel simply disappeared. Not destroyed, not blown apart, but erased as if it had never existed. No more time for discussion, Jake said. I'm sorry. Throughout the New Horizon, the lights began to glow. Brighter, the ship's engines hummed with power they were never designed to handle. Every piece of technology on board began working at levels that should have been impossible. Jake himself emerged from the medical bay, but he no longer looked completely human. His skin had a slight blue glow, his eyes were bright as stars, and when he moved, he seemed to flow rather than walk. The crew members who saw him felt both fear and hope. Everyone stay at your stations, Jake said, and his voice carried the authority of someone who had become much more than human. I'm going to stop that ship, but I need you to fly us out of here when I'm done. Jake walked to the ship's airlock. Jake, wait, Captain Rodriguez called. Can't go out there without a spacesuit? Jake turned and smiled, but it was a sad smile. Captain, I don't need a spacesuit anymore. I don't think I need much of anything that normal humans need. He opened the airlock and stepped into space. Everyone watched through the ship's cameras as Jake floated toward the Void Seeker vessel. He moved through the vacuum as easily as walking. Through air, the Void Seeker fired its weapon at Jake. The dark energy beam hit him directly. But instead of erasing him, something incredible happened. Jake absorbed the energy and became brighter, more powerful. Impossible, the cold voice from the Void Seeker said. No organic life can survive void energy. Jake's voice reached everyone, even though he was now in the vacuum of space. I'm not just organic life anymore. I'm what humans become when we stop accepting limits. Jake reached the Void Seeker ship and placed his hands on its hull. Immediately, the dark vessel began to change. Its black surface started to crack and glow with the same blue light that surrounded Jake. Warning: enhanced human power level exceeding predicted parameters. Retreat required, the Void Seeker said, but its voice now sounded afraid. You're not retreating, Jake said. You're going to tell your masters that humanity is protected. If they want to test that protection, they can try. The Void Seeker ship tried to escape, but Jake held it in place with power that came from somewhere beyond normal physics. The vessel struggled and fired all its weapons, but nothing could break Jake's grip. Then Jake did something that amazed everyone watching. Instead of destroying the ship, he changed it. The dark hull became bright metal. The weapons that erased life became tools that could create and heal. In less than a minute, Jake had transformed a vessel of destruction into something beneficial. This ship will return to your masters, Jake told the Void Seeker. It will carry a message that enhanced humans are not like other species. We don't just defend ourselves. We transform our enemies into allies. The changed ship flew away, carrying its message back to whatever dark part of space the Void Seekers came from. Jake floated back to the New Horizon. But when he entered the airlock, everyone could see that he had changed even more. He was still recognizable as Jake Miller, the farmer from Missouri, but he was also something far greater. "Is it over?" Captain Rodriguez asked. Jake looked at her with eyes that held knowledge of things beyond human understanding. "This battle is over. But there will be others. The Void Seekers were just the beginning. There are threats in this universe that even I might not be able to handle alone." "What do you mean alone?" Dr. Kane asked. Jake smiled, and for a moment he looked almost like his old self. "I'm not the only enhanced human, Dr. Kane. The scientists in 1847 created others like me. They've been sleeping in ships scattered across the galaxy, waiting for the time when humanity would need them." "And that time is now?" Alina asked. "That time was always going to come," Jake said. "Humanity is meant for something greater than just living on one planet, or even in one solar system. We're meant to be guardians of life itself. But first, we need to find the others and wake them up." The alien ships that had survived the encounter were now sending messages of gratitude and alliance. They had seen what Jake could do, and they understood that enhanced humans were not their enemies. "Captain Rodriguez," Jake said, "I need to ask you and your crew to help me find the other enhanced humans. It won't be easy, and it will be dangerous. But it's the only way to protect all the civilizations in this galaxy." Alina looked at her. Crew and saw determination in their faces. They had witnessed something incredible, and they knew that their lives had been changed forever. "Jake," Alina said, "we'll help you, but promise us one thing. Promise us that no matter how powerful you become, you'll remember that you were once a simple farmer who just wanted to help his country." Jake's expression became gentle, and for a moment, everyone could see the man he used to be. "I promise, Captain. That's the most important part of what I am. Everything else is just the power to protect it." 3 months after the encounter with the Void Seeker, the New Horizon had become something more than just a research vessel. It was now the flagship of a small fleet that included ships from 12 different alien species, all working together. To find the other enhanced humans that Jake had mentioned, Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge, watching the stars through the main window. The ship felt different now. Jake's presence had changed not just the technology, but the very atmosphere of the vessel. Everything worked better, and the crew felt more capable, more confident. "Captain, we're receiving a signal," Lisa Park reported. "It's the same type. A signature that Jake's cryopod was sending when we found him." Alina turned to look at the display. "How far away?" 2 days, at our current speed." "But Captain, this signal is much stronger than Jake's was. Whatever's out there, it's been awake." For some time, Jake appeared on the bridge, moving with the fluid grace that had become natural to him. His appearance had stabilized over the past months. He still looked human, but there was something about him that made people understand he was much more than that. "It's Rebecca," Jake said before anyone could ask. "Rebecca Stone. She was a teacher from Boston before she volunteered for the project. She's been awake for about 50 years, protecting a group of colonies in the Outer Rim." Dr. Kane looked up from his research station. "How do you know that?" "I can sense her. All enhanced humans are connected in ways that normal humans aren't. We share memories, experiences, knowledge. It's how we coordinate without needing to communicate directly." The journey to find Rebecca took them through a part of space that few ships ever visited. It was dangerous territory, filled with asteroid fields and strange energy storms. But the New Horizon moved through it all as if the hazards weren't there. When they finally reached their destination, they found something amazing. 3 small planets orbited a dying star, and all 3 were covered with cities and farms. Ships moved between the worlds, carrying people and goods. It was a thriving civilization in a place where life should have been impossible. "How are these planets supporting life?" Dr. Foster asked. "The star is too old and weak to provide enough energy." Jake smiled. "Rebecca is providing the energy. She's learned to channel power from other dimensions and use it to keep the worlds warm and bright. A ship approached them, sleek and beautiful in a way that seemed both human and alien. The communication system activated, and a woman's voice spoke to them. "Jake Miller, you finally woke up. I was beginning to think you'd sleep forever." Jake laughed, and the sound was full of joy. "Hello, Rebecca. I'm sorry to keep you waiting. There are some complications. I sensed the battle with the Void Seeker. You handled it well. Come down to the surface. We have much to discuss." The meeting between Jake and Rebecca was unlike anything the crew of the New Horizon had ever witnessed. When the two enhanced humans stood near each other, the air itself seemed to come alive with energy. Both of them glowed softly, and the space around them felt charged with possibility. Rebecca looked much like Jake did now. She appeared to be about 30 years old, with brown hair and green eyes that held depths of knowledge and experience. She moved with the same fluid grace, and when she spoke, her words carried weight and authority. "The others are waking up," Rebecca told Jake as they walked through her city. "I can feel them stirring across the galaxy. Time. We were prepared. 4 is finally here." "How many of us are there?" Jake asked. "When total?" "We were the final test group before the project was shut down. Each of us was enhanced for different purposes. You're the warrior, the one designed to face direct threats. I'm the gardener, meant to nurture and protect life." Captain Rodriguez and her crew followed them, amazed by what they saw. The city was beautiful, filled with humans and aliens living together in harmony. Children played in parks that shouldn't have been able to exist under a dying star. Art and music filled the air, and everyone they met seemed happy and content. "This is what enhanced humans can do," Rebecca explained to Alina. "We don't just fight against threats. Create, we protect, we help life flourish even in impossible conditions." But their peaceful meeting was interrupted by urgent signals from space. Ships were approaching, many more ships than had come to find Jake. This time, it wasn't just the Galactic Council. It was a massive fleet representing dozens of species, all armed and ready for war. "They're scared," Jake said, looking up at the sky. "Word has spread about what happened with the Void Seeker. They think we're planning to conquer the galaxy." The lead ship sent a message that was broadcast to all the worlds in Rebecca's system. "Enhanced humans, you are ordered to surrender yourselves immediately. The Galactic Congress has voted. You are too dangerous to be allowed to exist freely." Rebecca sighed sadly. "They don't understand. They think power can only be used for domination." "We could fight them," Jake said. "Together, we're strong enough to defeat any fleet they could send." "But that would prove their point," Rebecca replied. "If we fight them, we become the monsters they think we are." Alina stepped forward. "There has to be another way. Shown that enhanced humans can create, not just destroy. Can't you prove that to them?" Jake and Rebecca looked at each other, and some kind of communication passed between them that the others couldn't hear. Then Jake nodded. "There is a way," Jake said, "but it will require sacrifice from both of us." The two enhanced humans walked to the center of the city, where a large open space was surrounded by buildings and parks. People gathered around them, humans and aliens alike, all watching to see what would happen. Jake and Rebecca raised their hands toward the sky, and something incredible began to occur. Light flowed from them, but it wasn't the light of weapons or destruction. It was the light of creation, of life itself. The light reached into space and touched every ship in the attacking fleet. But instead of damaging them, it healed them. Old injuries that crew members had carried for years disappeared. Broken equipment began working perfectly. Even the artificial intelligences on the ships reported feeling more complete, more alive. Then the light spread further, reaching out to touch entire star systems. Dead planets began to bloom with life. Dying stars rekindled their flames. Diseases that had plagued civilizations for centuries simply vanished. But the effort was enormous. Jake and Rebecca were giving away parts of themselves, their own enhanced abilities to create this miracle of healing and renewal across the galaxy. "We're showing them what enhanced humans are really for," Rebecca said, her voice growing weaker as she poured more of her power into the effort. We're not conquerors. We're healers on a cosmic scale. Jake nodded, continuing to channel his power into the great work of restoration. This is what the scientists in 1847 really created us for. Not to destroy alien civilizations, but to help all life flourish. The effects of their sacrifice were felt across the galaxy. In the fleet above them, alien commanders watched in amazement as worlds that had been barren for millions of years suddenly burst into bloom. Species that had been dying out found new strength and vitality. When the light finally faded, Jake and Rebecca were still there, but they were changed. They looked more human than they had since their enhancement began. But there was a peace about them that hadn't been there before. The fleet in space slowly began to withdraw. The alien commanders sent messages of apology and gratitude instead of threats. "This is the choice we all have to make," Jake said to Captain Rodriguez. "We can use our abilities to dominate, or we can use them to serve. Enhanced humans choose to serve life itself." Alina looked at Jake and Rebecca, then at the thriving city around them. "What happens now?" "Now we find the others," Rebecca said, "and we teach them what we've learned. The galaxy is full of threats, but it's also full of wonders. Enhanced humans will be guardians of both." Jake looked up at the stars, where the new horizon waited along with ships from a dozen species that had once been enemies. "We'll travel together, all of us, humans and aliens, enhanced and normal, working to make sure that life continues to grow and thrive. And we'll always remember," Rebecca added, "that the greatest power isn't the ability to destroy, but the courage to create something better." As the sun set over Rebecca's city, Jake Miller, the farmer from Missouri who had become something far greater, knew that his real journey was just beginning. Somewhere out there, 10 more enhanced humans were waiting to be found, and beyond them, an entire galaxy full of life that needed protecting. The new horizon prepared to depart, carrying with it a crew that had learned the true meaning of humanity's destiny among the stars.